Council. I tend to move around, so I'll stay near the microphone as best as I can. You all do have a one-pager. This is what I'm overviewing on the PowerPoint. It doesn't follow the PowerPoint exactly, but all of the information I'm going to discuss is on this one-pager for your reference. So we have had a statewide regional, we've had a regional evacuation study program since 1984. So I'm giving you the overview of it and our 2020 updates. Again, it's been around since 1984, and the 1984 evacuation study was created off of a behavioral study from 1982. It was then updated in 1989, and that included inland shelter information. And then again in 1999, it was updated to include population data, the most up-to-date population data at that time, transportation networks for each county, and again, an update to the shelter information for the 6 counties that we had in our region at that time. In 2006, it became a statewide regional evacuation study. And what that means is it was updated and standardized throughout the state. So the methodology and inputs that we all use, each region uses, was standardized for the whole state. So each region uses the exact same information. And these are all of the partners who go into the statewide regional evacuation study program. Florida Division of Emergency Management oversees the program, and they house the documents on their SharePoint, which I'll again discuss at the end. We use the Florida Department of Transportation, NOAA, and then of course all 10 regional planning councils. So now to the 2020 update. We included a new process that was never done before, and this was again spearheaded by the Florida Division of Emergency Management. They created a steering committee. So this document is mostly used by your emergency managers, your city and county emergency managers. It's an extra tool in their toolbox when a hurricane or an evacuation is upcoming, where they have to make a decision on whether or not to evacuate. Then they use this tool, this information, along with other information to determine whether or not and when to call for evacuations. The steering committee was made up of at least 3 different members from each region, and they met virtually. And on a couple, we also had stakeholders, community partners involved in the steering committee. And because we wanted to make this product, this program, something that's actually usable for them. And in some of the meetings, there were over 100 participants. So it was very successful. Some of the outputs that are created are the behavioral analysis, shelter inventory, again, updated shelter inventory every year, population and demographic updates, storm survey analysis, evacuation zones. If the counties want to update their evacuation zones, they would do it at this time during the update, and then clearance times. So this year, Brevard and Volusia became part of a new basin, and that's the North Florida Basin. Previously in 2010, both Brevard and Volusia were in the Canaveral Basin. In 2017, only Brevard became part of the South Florida Super Basin, and now in 2020, the basins have changed again, as you can see on the map. TIME is the program we use to evaluate and project clearance times, the number of population and the number of vehicles that are going to evacuate should we call for an evacuation. So it's the Transportation Interface and Modeling Evacuations. It was created by the Florida Division of Emergency Management for this program. And in 2020, it included updated demographics. Unfortunately, the 2020 census was not yet available, but we did use the ACS 2019, the American Community Survey 2019. The statewide shelter plan information was updated. We updated all of the transportation networks from the counties and the Florida Department of Transportation. Basin operational scenarios were run, and then the incorporation of emergency shoulder use was put into the model, and that is different because in previous years, the Florida Department of Transportation had contraflow, which means on certain parts of I-75, I-95, they would have both north and southbound lanes going northbound or southbound, depending on, you know, the direction of the storm coming. They no longer do contraflow. Now it's emergency shoulder use, which means, again, on certain segments of certain roadways, they will open both the right and left shoulders and allow traffic to flow. The biggest change in the 2020 was the behavioral analysis. It was done by a third party called Cambridge Systems. They also partnered with WRA and UCF. So everybody has a cell phone, most everybody has a cell phone, and you know, it tracks you, you have GPS capabilities, some of the apps you use track your locations and you know, your search engines and all of that. So they use cell phone information from all of the major carriers. I'm definitely not a techie person, so I can get information if you have questions on that, but we're not gonna go into that. So the last behavioral study was conducted in 2010, and conducted in 2007 through 2008, and it was incorporated into our 2010 study update. It included landline phone surveys. So a total of 18,800 interviews were conducted across the state, and there was about 100 interview questions that they asked these people, and it took about 17 minutes. We no longer did that for this current behavioral study. We utilized the cell phone GPS locations to determine their home location, where they went when an evacuation was called, where they went, meaning out of county, if they stayed in county, did they go to a hotel or motel, did they go to a public shelter that was opened by the county, or did they go to a residential location, not their home, meaning friends or family. It obviously provided for a larger sample size statewide than just 18,000 people. I just discussed this, the type of refuge they took. I was able to pinpoint where they went and for how long. And here is the statistics from the behavioral study. They used real-life hurricanes to determine, so Matthew in 2016, Irma in 2017, and then Michael, which was mostly the Panhandle in 2018. Millions and millions of cell phone data. And then here are some of the statistics by storm. You can see for Irma, which was a statewide hurricane, 82% of the people went to other residential areas, friends and family. 15% went to hotels and motels, and about 3%, just under 3%, went to public shelters. And this, let's see if I can get it, is a visual. So if you watch the date up here, this is Irma, and the more blue the dots become, are the more people are moving, or where the people are located. So if you watch the date, it starts on the 5th, and then it goes through several days after the hurricane made landfall.
Damn it.
And it just moved again. Very interesting. So updated format. Previously, the plan was printed. We had volumes and volumes of printed data. Now, again, as I discussed before, it's hosted by the Florida Division of Emergency Management on their SharePoint. It is for public consumption, so the public can access this. It's not quite ready yet by the Division of Emergency Management because all of the plans did just get finalized in the last 6 weeks or so. But as soon as it's available, I can have Peggy send out the information so you can access it. And then clearance times. There has been an update to our clearance times. On the left, you can see was from the last study update, which was 2017. And then on the right, the 2020 update. And our clearance times, for the most part, did go down by either a half hour or several hours, depending on the county. Yes, sir?
Quick question for you on that. Because I was looking at what you put out in the beginning about using the cell phone data. Were we using that back in 17 as well? So I'm just trying to understand if this is really apples to apples.
No, as far as the behavioral study,
Yeah.
no. I mean, you can't compare apples to apples because in 2017, the transportation network was different. The demographics and census data hadn't been updated since 2010. So yes, I mean, I think this time is giving us a more clear snapshot of behavioral, and then of course all the updates to the transportation network, which would account for clearance times going down.
Thanks.
And then shelter demand. There's all kinds of other, charts and statistics that are available in the plan, but I wanted to highlight this because as elected officials, your emergency management might be coming to you to discuss this. There's, what they call the shelter demand, and as schools, mostly schools, public schools are used as shelters as they age and need to become retrofitted with generators or, hurricane resistant windows and so on and so forth. There might be a discussion about needing to update the schools and whatnot. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Although shelter demand, again, has gone down because most people, a shelter is a last resort. We want them to go to their friends or family, inland and away from the storm. And that is all I have. If anyone has any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Just going back